with TFG Sports Media. It is Friday or Friday, TGIF. And the weekend is about to start for a lot of us. And speaking of which, this weekend we have college basketball, both men and women's Final Four is going down. And we're going to talk about the ladies, the women, NCAA March Madness tournament. It actually tips off the first game in about 30 minutes. The women's Final Four is taking place in Cleveland, Ohio on tonight, and the championship game is on Sunday. And the men's Final Four will take place on tomorrow night. It is going down in Glendale, Arizona, and the championship game is on Monday night. Again, I am Kendrick, the sports guy. You are watching TFG Sports Media. We're going to give you about a good 15, 20 minutes. We're just going to talk about both games, both women games that's going on tonight. Make sure you come in. Make sure you like this live. Share it to your social media platforms. Comment. Let me know you watching, where you watching from, and who you got tonight in the women's Final Four. Will you be watching? I know a lot of people probably like, I don't watch women's college basketball, but you got to be out of your mind if you have not been keeping up with the women's college tournament and actually the college basketball season on the ladies' side. It's just been more exciting. Obviously, we got the names. You already know the Caitlin Clark, the Angel Reeses, the Paige Bukers, the Juju Watkins. It's many more I could name. But those are the ones that's been getting a lot of the attention, and granted, they deserve it. But it's a lot of other ladies that's been putting it down on the hard court as well. So again, make sure you come in, like, comment, let me know you're here, where you're watching from. Also, if you would like, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's TFG Sports Media here on YouTube. You can also subscribe to Kendrick Sports Hustle on YouTube. That's SportzHustle. And if you would like to contribute to the channel, there should be a little dollar sign icon or thank you icon. If you would like to contribute to help continue to build this sports platform, any donation would be greatly appreciated. You can also hit my Cash App if you like. That's dollar sign 1969. Kendrick, again, I'm looking to continue to build TFG Sports Media, where it could be one of your best sources of sports information and entertainment as well. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit here, see what we got going on. We had a couple of news sports stories that went down. I guess probably the biggest one was the Bronny James. If you didn't know, Bronny James announced on X, formerly known as Twitter, that he will declare for the NBA Draft 2024. But there is a little caveat to that, but as a catch, he's also entering the college transfer portal. So he's giving himself flexibility if he decides he'll be able to come back to play in college. And speaking of colleges, that's where now the next thing is, where will he be at? Because again, his former coach at USC has taken another job. He has went to Enfield. I think his last name is Enfield. He took the job at SMU. And USC has hired a new coach, former Arkansas Razorbacks coach Eric Musselman. So it makes sense. I can understand why Bronny would transfer. The coach that recruited you out of high school, Sierra Canyon, is where he played. He's decided to leave USC to go to Andy Enfield to SMU, which I'm still trying to figure out why would he leave USC for SMU. But that's another story for another day. And now LeBron is either gonna he's declared for the draft, or he's gonna come back and play another year. Again, he's only played 1 year, his freshman year. Quite frankly, he only averaged 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and he only shot 36% from the field. And he only played 25 games. So me personally, I don't think he's hey, how you doing? Many trick shots. Naya, thanks for joining me. I don't think he's let me know where you're watching from. I don't know if he's ready, but we do know LeBron has made that perfectly clear that he wants to stick around to be able to play with his son. And oh, by the way, if that happens, If that happens, it would be the first time in NBA history that a father and son played in the NBA together. Don't know if they're going to be on the same team. If Bronny is even drafted, I'm not trying to put the horse before the cart because we still don't know that. But if Bronny does make it to the NBA and LeBron is still there, if he's drafted in the upcoming draft, which takes place in June, that would be the first time in NBA history that a father-son has played together as players in the league. Now, we've had many father-sons that's played in the league, but none of them were still playing. The fathers had already retired. They were coaching or assistant coaches or anything like that. They still wasn't players. So we'll keep you updated on that. Now let's talk about the first game tonight. We got in the women's Final Four. Again, it's taking place in Cleveland, Ohio. Good, go figure. From where LeBron is. He's from Akron, but he played for Cleveland. We got the number one seeded South Carolina Lady Gamecocks versus the number three seeded North Carolina State Lady Wolfpack. The Lady Gamecocks were number one for pretty much the whole season. They in the AP Top 25. They were number one for the last 4 months. They come in undefeated. Lady Gamecocks are 36-0. NC State, which is the number three seed, they come in at 31-6. And for the Lady Gamecocks, Coach Dawn Staley is appearing in her fourth straight Final Four. Remember, the Lady Gamecocks won it all 2 years ago in 2022. Again, that game, the first game of the Final Four, they tip off at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, well, Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. So they're about to tip off here in roughly 28 minutes. Now, again, the Lady Gamecocks had to replace all 5 starters from last season's team who actually lost in the semifinals to Iowa, who will be playing after Iowa and UConn will be playing after this game. So Coach Staley had to go back to the drawing board to replace a lot of veterans. But looks like South Carolina hasn't missed a beat. Outside of that scare in the Southeast Conference tournament versus Tennessee, where their center Camilla Cardoza had to bank that jump shot in. I believe it was a 3. Had to bank that 3 in at the buzzer to get to the championship game in the SEC where they beat LSU. They hadn't missed a beat. They hadn't missed a beat. So again, we all know what South Carolina bring. Don't know much about North Carolina State. You know, they are the they are the darlings of this tournament. When you really think about it, they are the darlings because nobody expected the North Carolina State Lady Wolfpack to be here. So they coming in with a lot of confidence. They've had a nice little run in the tournament, and they believing that they can beat their in-state rivals. By the way, this is an in-state rival game, and another caveat, another thing too. We got 2 teams in the women's tournament, North Carolina State and UConn. Well, their men friends, UConn, as well as North Carolina State, Wolfpack are in the men's side. So we could technically have tonight, we can have before this weekend, after Monday night, you might could have 2 schools, UConn and North Carolina State, having celebrating 2 national championships on both the men and women's side. Now, believe me, that ain't gonna be an easy task. Definitely starting to right now in the next 25 minutes for North Carolina, the ladies, because they gonna have their hands full with South Carolina. But that could possibly be some history tonight. After the Final Fours are done on both the men and women's side, if the UConn men and or the UConn women win, or the North Carolina State men win, and the North Carolina State women win. So we could see it both ways. So that's the first matchup. Again, who am I picking? I like to know who you going with. I just think South Carolina. I just think they're a lot to handle. I just think they're going to be a lot to handle. Again, I'm not that very familiar with North Carolina State outside of seeing, glanced at some of their highlights during this March Madness tournament. But I just think, I picked South Carolina to win this thing, and I'm sticking with that pick. I think South Carolina is going to win this thing, but I think tonight begins. It begins. So I think South Carolina got to jump on North Carolina State. I don't think they can allow them to feel like they got a shot, and they got to put them. If they get them down, they got to keep their foot. They got to keep their foot on the pedal and put this game away, in my opinion. Now the second game, the doubleheader. Again, we got the first game, South Carolina versus North Carolina State, 1 seed versus 3 seed. They tip off at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. All this is on ESPN, by the way, and ESPN Plus. Second game, we got the number 3 seed UConn Huskies, who's been here, been there, done that. We already know how they roll. The women's, they've been in national title games under Gus Ariyama for numerous times. They are a powerhouse, and you would have to say they are a dynasty. Going up against the number 1 seed Iowa Hawkeyes, 33-4. UConn Huskies is 33-5. Paige Buchers versus the AP College Women's Player of the Year for the second time, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is coming off that big-time performance versus LSU, and that game right there was what it was. Matter of fact, it was so much what it was. It became the most watched women's basketball game in history, I believe, and it was definitely the most women's watched game on ESPN. It even pulled more viewers than the World Series, from what I saw, and it had almost 13 million viewers in just that Elite Eight matchup between LSU and Iowa. But again, now we moving to Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers, man. Listen, I mean, I think we all know what Caitlin Clark brings to the table. We already know she put a 41 piece on LSU this last game. You know how quickly she can fill the bucket up. So UConn are gonna have to, they're gonna have their hands full. I think to defend her, I think you got to figure out, you got to use a trap. I think I would do. I would, soon as if she has the ball in her hands, she cross half court. I'm trapping. I'm trapping to get the ball out of her hand. I'm gonna make somebody else from Iowa beat us. That's what I would do if I was Gus Ariyama, if I was him. And I'm sure he's talked to his ladies about what they need to do as far as handling Caitlin Clark. Now, the key is, I think, for Iowa is going to be their other players to step up and have a big game. And that's what happened versus LSU in that Elite Eight matchup. Even though Caitlin Clark had 41, the other young lady, I can't think of her name, she had 21, and another one of their stars had like 17. So that's what they need versus Connecticut. Now, as far as Connecticut, we all know, again, Paige Bucher, she's going to bring it. She's going to do her thing. Again, this UConn team, they talented, experienced. So I wouldn't count UConn out. I think that this could be a toss-up game. I'm kind of leaning more toward UConn. Just because I think they have a more well-rounded team. But again, when you have a player like Caitlin Clark on your side, your team is never out of it. So that is the second matchup of the women's Final Four, again, that's going on in Cleveland. UConn, which is the number 3 seed, 33-5, versus number 1 seed Iowa Hawkeyes, who 33-4. Again, that's at 8:00 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. And you can watch it on ESPN Plus as well. So we're going to see if Coach Ariyama, how many has he won? I can't even think. Let me look. It's been 8 years since the Connecticut Lady Huskies have won the last of the program's 11 titles. You hear that? 11. But they haven't won one since 2016. So it has been a minute since UConn has kind of been in the spotlight. And they are the underdogs. UConn is just a slight underdog. So I think that Coach Gino got these young ladies ready to play, and I think they have a game plan and have something for Caitlin Clark. But again, when you got the best player in the country, you're never out of it. So I was going to have to be on top of their game. I really do. I think they're going to have those other players step up, like I said previously, to take some of the pressure off of Caitlin Clark. Again, she's used to pressure, not saying that she can't handle it, but I think going up against Paige Buchers and this Connecticut Lady Husky team, That's going to be it's going to be a tall task. And so whoever wins both these games, they will be playing in the national title game on Sunday night. Will it be UConn? Will it be Iowa? In the first game, will it be South Carolina? Or will it be North Carolina State in the ladies' side? I'm picking South Carolina versus UConn in the national title game. That's what I'm picking. I'm sticking with it. So I'm picking South Carolina versus UConn in the national title game on Sunday, and I'm picking South Carolina to win it all and to give Dawn Staley her second national title since in what 5 years I want to say, because they last won it in 2 years. Yeah. So that's my pick on that side. As far as the men's side, we'll talk a little bit more about them on tomorrow. But again, we got that matchup as well. We got number 1 seed Purdue versus number 11 seed NC State. That is the early game on TNT, TBS. And I believe it's on True TV as well. That's at 5:09 p.m. tip-off. Then the second game at 7:49 p.m. We got the number 1 seed UConn versus number 4 seed Alabama. Who would have thought Sweet Home Alabama would have made it to the Final Four, as well as number 11 seed NC State. NC State is trying to become the first double-digit seed to win the national. I think they would. Yeah, I believe it would be the first to win the national title as a double-digit seed. So that's the men's Final Four matchup. Again, their Final Four is taking place in Glendale, Arizona. And there was a story that was it UConn? I think it was UConn had some trouble with their plane. Yeah, they had some trouble with their plane getting to Arizona, but they made it. And speaking of the UConn men, they looking to repeat. They're the defending champ. They would be the first team to repeat since the University of Florida did it with Billy Donovan was head coach. I want to say that was the late 2000s, somewhere around there. I can't remember. So that's the men set up again tomorrow on TBS TNT, number 1 Purdue, with their player of the year, Zach Edey, they big 7'4" center. He won the Naismith Player of the Year award again for a second back-to-back. They got the hot team in the tournament. And I said this when the tournament started. I said NC State is a hot team. They hadn't lost since they beat Duke, I believe, in the whatever the close to their last regular season. No, in the ACC tournament. In the regular season they haven't lost. They haven't lost since whatever their last game was in the regular season, because they went through the ACC tournament and they've won all their games. They like the hottest team. And I told one of my buddies, I said, NC State, those are teams when they get hot like that. That's the team you got to be leery of and watch, because them teams that get hot toward the end of the season or in their conference tournament, a lot of times they go a long way. And the number 11 seed NC State, they the darlings on the men's side. They have nothing to lose, all the gain. There's no pressure on them, because they wasn't even supposed to make it out of they wasn't even supposed to make it to the tournament. They had to get a couple of wins toward the end just to even for the committee. To get in, technically, they had to win the ACC tournament just to get in, because if they would have based it upon their record and their strength of schedule and some other factors, the committee probably wouldn't have put them in the tournament. So, again, that's the men's side. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that on tomorrow. But we're getting ready for the women's tip-off. Final Four again. First game, 1 seed South Carolina, who's undefeated, that's looking to go undefeated to win the title, versus number 3 seed NC State. It's tipping off here in about 15 minutes. Then the second game after that is the number 1 seed Iowa Lady Hawkeyes versus the number 3 seed UConn Lady Huskies. That tips off about 8 p.m. as well on ESPN and ESPN+. So, again, you guys let me know in the comments who you think, who you got, who you rooting for. Are you going to watch? I know I'm going to try to watch a little bit of it. And who you got in the men's side. Tell me who you got on the men's side. You think UConn is going to be able to repeat on the men's side as well. And also, Bronny James, just to catch you up, he announced today on X, formerly known as Twitter, that he will declare for the NBA draft 2024, but he is definitely going to keep his options open. He's also entering into the transfer portal to look to transfer because his coach, Andy Enfield, has left USC to take a job at SMU, and most likely the new coach coming in, which is Eric Musselman for USC, he previously coached at Arkansas. He's going to come in. A lot of times when coaches come in, they don't have any loyalty, to those remaining players. So a lot of times those players transfer, or some of them do stay. So will Bronny, will he go? Will he keep his name in the NBA draft? Now, he's going to be doing some workouts for teams, and will be getting evaluated by the NBA scouts, and I'm sure him and his dad will go over that and decide if it would be in his best interest. Now, you got to remember, the NBA draft only has 2 rounds, so roughly only 50 to 60 players will be getting drafted. So in all that I've read, a couple of mock drafts, the one that I mainly saw from ESPN basically said that they didn't have Bronny James going in the NBA draft, period. So they'll have to weigh all that, and if not, Bronny would, he could continue his college career. Again, he only played 1 year at USC. He only played 25 games. He had that health scare back in the summer, had to be rushed to the hospital, found out he had a heart condition. I think they got all that is in check now, but still, he only played 25 games. So he hadn't played enough basketball, in my opinion. I think he needs a little bit more time on the hardwood. And but at the end of the day, you can't. Who am I to tell a kid not to live out his dream? And we all know the dream might be because of his dad, who has made it clear that he would want to stick around to play with his son, which would be the first in NBA history. Me personally, I wouldn't want to put that type of pressure on my son, especially when his name is LeBron James. And is this more of LeBron being selfish? Is he want to do that because? But I get as a father, you want to. That would be cool to do. Not knocking that, but why put this undue pressure on your kid when he's only played 25 games his freshman year? And I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll keep you abreast of that. Make sure you keep it locked here to TFG Sports Media for all your sports information and entertainment. Again, many trick shots. Want to thank you for joining me. Those that watch this later, make sure you like it, share it to all your social media platforms. And if you, you can contribute to the platform. There's a little star that says thank you, or the little $sign. You can contribute whatever amount would be greatly appreciated. But also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell as well to be alerted when new content is headed your way. And you also can subscribe to my other sports channel. That's Kendrick Sports Hustle. That's SPORTZ HUSTLE right here on YouTube. So again, getting ready to watch South Carolina versus North Carolina State ladies. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And again, I'm Kendrick, the sports guy. We will see you on the other side. And on the next report, I am out. Peace.